Hi guys, tonight I would like to talk to you about your booking ratings um, and how many bookings you get and why you get a lot of bookings sometimes and why you get less. Now, there's been quite a debate going on our page at the moment regarding this issue, and I mean, it is a legitimate issue to debate, and I thought I might just add to it. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with anybody's opinions regarding the matter, but booking ratings are as important, as far as I'm concerned, as your hourly rate that you get paid, or at least on this. Uh, in some instances, even more important than what your hourly rate is, because I mean, hypothetically speaking, if you get paid $20 an hour, which is a fantastic hourly rating, but you only get booked 2 hours a day, then I mean, you end up losing. So one of the recruiters on our page made a very valid point today when she pointed out that bookings don't always depend on the company. Often the amount of bookings that you get depends on your review as a teacher or your competency as a teacher. I cannot disagree with that, but I certainly think we should add something to that argument or to that statement rather. Um, there are some companies out there that have better booking ratings than others. This is an undeniable fact. I mean, um, and I'll give you some examples of what has happened to me in the past. Okay, so first of all, if you are not going to be a good teacher and you're not competent at what you're doing, don't expect to get a lot of bookings. Period. All right. That is the one side of the argument, and then on the other side of the argument, you get companies that simply go through a slow phase, or they have failed advertising campaigns, and then they don't get a lot of bookings, which then per implication means that you don't get booked a lot, and then it has absolutely nothing to do with your competency as a teacher. So the rate at which you get booked depends on both of those issues, not just the one. Um, I mean, I have spoken to many people who work for Dazoa. For goodness sake, I don't know. I know this company so well, and I've even gone through most of the processes with them. Although I mean, I've never officially worked for them, but I've gone through the interview processes and stuff, which also varies. But okay, topic for another day. Um, I know that their booking rate is incredible. Okay, so some companies have this policy. Um, if you're a competent teacher, you get a lot of bookings, and if you're not such a competent teacher, you get less bookings. And then you get other companies that have a different approach to it entirely. Uh, Everybody gets a decent amount of bookings, and if you're not a competent teacher, you get a warning and they dismiss you. But nevertheless, everybody who is competent and who works for the company gets a relatively decent amount of bookings on a daily and weekly basis. All right. Now, what would I call a decent amount of hours? Okay. In terms of booking rates. I mean, let's look at the hourly rates that we are getting paid at the moment. I mean, how often, I mean, more often than not, uh, people are offering $5 an hour to South African teachers. Uh, to me, that is still a tragedy. But okay, let me not go into that now. I have spoken about this before, but and I am in the process of doing something about it. Just please give me some time because me and Hanali, we are compiling an encompassing list of European schools, and I will make a lot more effort with this video than I do with my average videos. And my intent is to use my blog to update you weekly on companies that are hiring, where I will deal with 5 or 6 companies every week, so that I can give you the best possible opportunity to get paid the best possible rate. But okay, so the topic we're dealing with at the moment is why are some teachers getting a lot of bookings and why are some not? Okay, so as I've just said, it's either the company or it is you, or a little bit of both. But more often than not, more often than not, you can't just look at it from one perspective. You have to consider both options. Um, for example, when I started working with Bijin, I got really good reviews from the parents and I got a lot of bookings. And please don't think that I want to say bad things about Bijin, because although I've resigned from them, I cannot say that they've ever treated me badly or that I've ever had to wait for payment from them. And the teacher support on the page, they were very professional and friendly. Although they don't pay the highest hourly rate, the platform was easy to use, the students were friendly, and it was fun to teach them. And all in all, I had a pleasant experience with them. But with regards to the booking ratings, despite the fact that I got really good reviews from the students and from their parents, certain months I would get maybe 15 or 20 hours, which is still very little. Um, but I mean, I kept my schedule open to take some classes from them. The most hours I ever worked for them in a month was, I think, 25. And in my third month with them, I think I only got 9 or 10 hours worth of bookings. And my reviews did not go down. It was still an average of 4.5 out of 5 and higher, the average, which is a good rating. Um, what I suspect is that the school at that stage had some trouble getting students, or sometimes they get a lot of students in the beginning because they launch a massive and expensive campaign, and then many of these students only take a couple of classes and don't continue booking. Okay, so that is how these companies go through different phases. Campaign, a lot of new students, a lot of bookings, and then they try to ride on what this campaign has produced for them. So now they're on a peak. So obviously they're not going to run a really huge expensive campaign every month. So they look and see what they can produce from the initial campaign. All right. So initially you think, wow, this month I got like 40 hours. I'm so happy and this is so encouraging. And rightly so. But don't be surprised or discouraged if 6 weeks later your bookings drop significantly. Because some of the parents and the kids are not as committed to taking English classes on a long-term basis. Sometimes it's just something fun or interesting for them to do for a while, or maybe the foreign teacher experience. Not even all the students are that interested in learning English. Some of them just do these online classes because the kids enjoy it and it's entertaining. And that is a fact. And I've had a lot of feedback regarding that, and I've had discussions with a lot of teachers who agree with me on that topic. In saying so, I don't mind if anybody disagrees with my opinion, but it seems to be the case. So, what I'm trying to say is, although you might start working for a company and get a lot of bookings initially, and which is exactly why some companies go on a hiring spree, because all of a sudden they're getting in all these new students and they don't have enough teachers to deal with all these new students that come in. And then they make this huge fatal mistake. And this is a big problem in the online teaching industry. Teaching industry. Okay? This problem is that these companies don't really care. They don't bring a balance. They just start hiring teachers. Okay? And then after these campaigns that they've launched, they don't take into consideration that the booking rates will decrease, albeit not significantly, but they will balance out and normalize to a particular average, which will be lower than the booking average they had during the advertising campaign. Now they end up having hired 30 teachers when in actual fact, to sustain the average booking rate, they only needed an additional 12 or 15 teachers. And this is where the problem comes in. Now you've got a lot of teachers that might have worked for the company for a long time, and even they suffer because this company now has to distribute a limited amount of bookings amongst way too many teachers. It's like having too many waiters on the floor on a quiet night. Okay. Sorry for using that analogy, but I thought it is appropriate. And this is what happens. So, yes, it could possibly be because of you, but I've realized that I've spoken to so many people that I know are very good, extremely experienced and qualified teachers that end up with the same problem. And I know that it's not their fault. And this is the reason why these things happen. Now, don't get me wrong. Some teachers also make the big mistake of, in their first month, they might say, okay, well, I really need money, so I've got to push it. Okay. So they open up their schedule and make themselves available for 80 hours. But this teacher might not be used to working 80 hours, of which some of them might be in the early hours of the morning. Okay. So come week 3, this teacher is utterly exhausted. And every time they have to start a new class, they're like totally exhausted and distracted, and they have lost interest. Well, not lost interest, just extremely tired, bored even. This happens more often than you think. My suggestion to teachers is, if you want to keep your, well, for the part that is up to you, that you can control, okay, if you want to keep your booking rates high, don't over invest in the beginning. Okay, so in your first month with a new company, you need to get used to the type of students that you're going to work with. You need to get used to the new platform that you're using, the teacher support, and basically the entire system that you're working with. So don't try and shoot for 60 or 80 hours in your first month. I know we all need money, but this could be counterproductive, and it is counterproductive very often. Take on 40 or 50 hours and work yourself into this company and the system systematically. And then in the second month, make yourself available for 60 hours. And then thereafter, 80 hours. And teaching for 80 hours a month to some people is quite exhausting. I've gotten so used to it. I mean, my goodness. With this European company I'm working for now, I've made myself available for 80 hours. And, when I started my online teaching career, I used to remember 30 hours used to be a lot. Because I'm simply not used to sitting in front of a computer so many hours and dealing with so many different personalities and having to adapt every single time. It's like being an athlete, okay? This is something that you need to get used to, and it takes a while until you develop a system that works for you. Not only an academic or physical system or theoretical system, but also psychologically, you need to get used to the idea of sitting in front of a computer on a chair up to 5 hours a day on average, if you want to work 80 hours a month. Because, okay, the companies I work for now, they mostly don't have classes on the weekend, so it's Mondays to Fridays. But even if you have classes on weekends, it doesn't matter. Well, it actually makes it even worse. So keep in mind, you don't really get a break. And South Africans are Western people. We are used to getting a break somewhere during the weekend. And what happens is you burn yourself out, and then the quality of your classes go down. All right. And this is not something that you do intentionally. And goodness knows I cannot criticize anybody for getting tired, because I still have classes sometimes that I know I'm going to deal with a student that is really not good at speaking English. And this is going to be a hard hour. Because I work with adults now, most of my classes are an hour. Some of my group sessions are up to an hour and a half. And if you work with people who are, with kids or people, I'm working with adults at the moment, but I worked with kids for the longest time, so it applies to all age groups. So if you know you're going to sit in front of a computer for an hour with somebody that can barely respond to a most basic question in English, then you know that is going to be an hour that you are going to spend earning your money the hard way. Okay. In addition to which, you don't only need to be efficient as a teacher during that hour, but you also need to be more than mildly entertaining. Otherwise, the reviews go down and your bookings go down. Okay. So, as I've said, if you look at this statistic, you could almost draw a graph. And I thought of doing it. It's just I'm not really good at editing the videos, but you could actually draw a graph and see how these companies go from extremely high booking ratings to balancing out to reduced booking ratings, and then look at their hiring sprees that they enter into when those booking ratings go up because of a campaign. And when those booking rates balance out, then you start seeing the posts on Facebook and the pages, and you hear about teachers who have been working for them for 2 years with brilliant reviews who end up not getting enough hours a month. So take all of those things into consideration. Um, yes, you should always be critical of yourself, not in a bad way, but after every class, you should ask yourself, what was I really good at during this class? What could I have done better? And you should ask yourself which techniques work very well with different age groups and even with different nationalities. Because certain techniques work very well with European students, but definitely don't work very well at all with Asian students. So you need to take all of those things into account. And if you don't write them down, that's fine. I mean, I'm not that anal retentive either. But I do make mental notes of certain strategies that I use that work very well with my Asian students. But I know very well if I try those same techniques with my European students, it's probably going to provoke a negative response. Okay. So please be aware of these things and keep them in mind. If your booking ratings go down, then just please always remember what I've told you from day one. You cannot work. Oh my goodness, I really don't want to sound, and I'm always careful of this. I don't want to sound like I know better than anybody else, because I don't. But I am utterly convinced that in this industry it is impossible or very dangerous to invest in only one company. You need to invest in at least 3 different companies. At least. Not because you're inconsistent and you're not loyal to the companies who look after you. It's for the reason that even your favorite company could go through a slump. And then you need to be able to take that slump, and you need to be able to shift those hours that you're not getting booked with your favorite company to some of the other companies that you're working for, to try and compensate for the hours that you've lost. Otherwise, it's really difficult to earn an average income. Otherwise, your income will go up and down and up and down, and financial planning with an income like that is nearly impossible. Okay, so that is just my suggestion. But if you get a good job in the Machiavellian sense, the first thing you should do is to start applying for another one. It's unfortunate. I wish things were different, and I wish I could tell you something else, but having looked at the comments that I saw on our page today regarding bookings, it just proves my point over and over. You need a backup for a backup for a backup. And yes, if you do that, I am not promising you success, but statistically you have a better chance at earning a good average income. Guys, like I said, please be patient. I'm trying to make a good compilation of schools. Hanali is also helping me, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible with those schools and their reviews. Okay. Have a good week, and I wish you all the best.